Ed Sheeran wrote a beautiful song recently. It's called Thinking Out Loud. The first part says, "When your legs don't work like they used to no more, and I can't sweep you off of your feet." To some, this sounds like a beautiful love song, but to others, this holds a very different meaning. According to the Multiple Sclerosis Society, 2.3 million people globally are affected by multiple sclerosis. I hope that today I can shed some light on what multiple sclerosis is, what are some signs and symptoms, and what are some treatment options. Now, what is multiple sclerosis? Multiple sclerosis is a disease that affects your myelin sheath of your nerves. So think of your nerves as wires and the myelin sheath as the rubber on the extension cord. The disease is an autoimmune, which means your body is attacking itself, attacking that myelin sheath, the rubber on the extension cord. This exposes the wires and doesn't allow the nerves to have the correct impulses from the brain to wherever it's trying to send the information. Things can get misfired, same as in an electrical cord when the wires are exposed. Now, according to multiplesclerosis.net, one of the big problems is that not only does multiple sclerosis affect the myelin sheath, but it also affects the cells that produce the myelin sheath. So once there's damage, the damage is there, and it's very hard for that damage to ever be repaired. This can be very scary for someone who has it. What are some symptoms? Well, each person deals with multiple sclerosis in a very different way. Each patient has symptoms that are very different from each other. There are two main types of multiple sclerosis. The first, relapsing remitting. This means that the patient has times when they have symptoms and times when they don't. When they do, this is called a relapse. When they don't, that's when they're in remission. The second type is primary progressive. This means that the person is in a constant relapse. Their symptoms are always occurring and they don't ever have a little bit of reprieve from the symptoms that are going on. They just continuously build upon each other. So, some symptoms, direct symptoms that a patient can feel. Well, a patient may feel some tingling and numbness in their extremities. Maybe something like fire ants are biting their feet. They may have visual disturbances. They may lose the ability to control their bowel or bladder. Memory problems, cognitive problems, and speech problems. Think about everything that your nerves affect in your body and touch and get you to do certain tasks. Any of those tasks can be affected now if that part of the myelin sheath gets destroyed and allowing the wires to be exposed. Now, some patients can have things that we consider more minor, such as heat and cold intolerance or the paresthesia, while others, it can be grossly manifested, where the individual is unable to walk and talk. They may not be able to control their bowel or bladder at all and become incontinent. Most of the time, the patients can come back from whatever symptom happens until the disease begins to progress into primary progressive, because it can go from from relapsing remitting to primary progressive, or the patient could just have primary progressive. It can't go backwards though, meaning there is no cure. So what are some treatments? Well, according to medlineplus.gov, you can get injectables, which is where the patient would self-inject the medication, IV infusions, and during actual relapses, they can get medications that are steroid-based to help reduce the inflammation and control the symptoms that are occurring. Let's not forget, third, about some alternative therapies such as yoga, acupuncture, chiropractic care, oils, herbs, lots of different things that people may use that can complement or be an alternative to the treatment that they're receiving. Lastly, patients can change their diet, eat clean, drink lots of water, avoid processed sugars and inflammatory foods such as gluten. All of these things seem to reduce the frequency of those relapses. So, multiple sclerosis is an awful disease that affects a lot of people. And there's nothing that has come out yet that can cure the disease, only things that can help deal with the symptoms that the patient may encounter. The patient may have symptoms that are just uncomfortable, or they can be very debilitating. It really depends and varies from person to person. There are multiple treatment options. Some patients use multiple of those, so they may use a clean eating diet and the self-injectables or IV fusions. They may only do the diet and get steroids when they have a relapse. Making sure that you choose what type of treatment option is best for you is what is ultimately important. Make sure to reach out and talk to your doctor or counselor in the event that you are diagnosed with MS and unsure of how you want to move forward. My name is Misty Bennett, and I have multiple sclerosis. When I hear this song, Thinking Out Loud from John Legend, it affects me in a different way, because one day that might be how my husband has to move me around, or my children. I won't let the disease define me. My hope is to inform more people about what the disease is, the signs and symptoms and treatments, to bring awareness and hopefully gain the ability to have great research and hopefully one day find a cure.